Hi, I'm excited to give you a brief end-to-end demo of SAP Analytics Cloud and the Digital Boardroom. I have the application already opened, and as you can see, I'm accessing it from my browser, so I don't have to download or install anything, and I'm always on the latest version. For the first portion of this demo, I'm going to approach this as an end user who wants a really easy self-service tool to analyze their data. I have this spreadsheet on my desktop and I'm just going to drag and drop it in. Now notice, I'm using the I'm feeling lucky capability, which means that it's going to do the modeling for me. It's using our predictive modeling, so I don't have to do any of that data preparation I would normally have to. I'm not going to see a screen that says, hey, identify the measures, identify the dimensions, tell me if it's time-based. It did all of that for me. Once it's done, it drops me into our data exploration view. From here, I'm able to now start clicking on the data and exploring it. For instance, I could take a look at order value and I could slice and dice it by the customer status or by something like the date. And you'll notice it's auto-suggesting the chart as I go and changing it to fit the data that I'm looking at. Once I find something that I like, I can copy it over onto a new page. Again, this is meant to be very self-service friendly. So I can take this chart, I can move it around on the page, I can resize it, I can format it however I would like. And once I'm done, what I'll do is I'll save this report centrally. Now it's not locked up on my computer. I'm able to share it with others. I'm not passing it back and forth through email. And I have the ability that once I've granted them access, we can also collaborate right within this exact same tool. Now, with what I'm building, there's an even easier way of doing it using Search to Insight. With Search to Insight, I can use my own natural language and ask questions like show, let's say, order value by product. Immediately, it brings back a chart for me. But I could go ahead and even filter it and say for the C900 bike. Now notice I misspelled bike, and even still it knows what I'm referring to. To be even more specific, I could say for last year, and it knows what I mean by last year, and it's showing it now just for 2017. If I found a chart that I like, I can go ahead and add this to my story as well. Now, when I'm looking at this dashboard, it's done a very good job, but it's also very static in terms of the charts that I'm looking at. So as I can see, the M550 is very low and the e-bike is very high. What I can't see is why. I have no idea why one is low and why one is high. This is where our smart insights comes into play. Using the ... I can activate this feature, and it's going to add a footer onto the chart where it'll now explain what I'm looking at. I can see that the e-bike is 32% above average, but not just that its variation is being driven by prospective customers. Now look at this chart. There is nothing in the chart itself that talks about prospective customers. That's because Smart Insights is looking at the wider data set and figuring out what are the contributing factors. If I click on this, it'll give me additional detail, and I can see how it stacks up between prospective, prior, and current customers, and I can pivot through different charts. Now, I want to just show you what the data set looked like that we were starting off with. Here it is. It is thousands of lines of order IDs. I can see sales agents, customers, the segment, the country, all of this information. If you went and asked me to now build this report for you from scratch, a full-on report based upon all this information, it would probably take me half a day to a full day of me just trying out different charts, seeing where the valuable insights are inside of this. But this is where SAP Analytics Cloud can also help us. Using Smart Discovery, it can build the entire story for me. So let's say I want to analyze order value. Well, all I have to do is select and hit run, and now it's looking through that and finding statistically important insights. Behind the scenes, since I selected a measure, it's actually running regression. Had I selected a dimension, it would have been doing classification, but I don't need to know this. I don't need to be a data scientist to have these data scientist-like capabilities available to me. In the background, you can see what it's doing. It's building me an overview page It's identifying some key influencers for me. It's also looking through all of that data and finding any unexpected values. And it's going to conclude by creating a page of simulation where I'll be able to look at all of this data in the spreadsheet and have a model built on top of it where I can simulate different scenarios. Now, it's jumping me back over to the overview page, and we'll be able to take a quick look at how well it did with this particular data set. It's found 7 key influencers, 36 unexpected values, and here we go. I can see that my total order value is 15.6 million. I can see a histogram showing the distribution of all of my orders, and I can also see where it's coming from, be it wholesale, direct, or resale. But I'm also seeing insights that weren't actually in the original data set. For instance, check out this. I'm getting a time series forecast showing me what the order value is going to be over time, including for future periods. And there's an important insight in here, which is that it's steadily declining. Now, if I wanted to know why are my order values slowly declining, I might want to take a look at my key influencers. This is showing me what statistically are the top influencers of order value. As we look at this chart, we can see that units sold obviously is the highest influencer. And that's because, of course, the more units you sell, the higher your order value. The next most important thing is product, followed by sales agent, followed by the number of customer meetings. Now, check this out. Product's next most important, units sold was first. Look, it's arranging the charts based upon what's most important. So there's your units sold, there's your product influence, followed by your sales agent, right? So it's giving me details on all of these different pieces. And as I come in here, let's take a look at the M550. We can see the M550, high number of orders, but really low average order value. And if I compare that with the e-bike, I can see that our brand new e-bike is doing extraordinarily well in terms of average order value. But our e-bike is only available in select countries. So if we wanted to figure out what would our average value be if we released it to a new country, we can do this using simulation. Inside of the simulation panel, I'm able to take that e-bike and using historic data, I'm able to now start figuring out what would it be like if I targeted prospective customers, and let's say we're going to go to China, and let's now target the wholesale segment. This is its predicted value based upon those inputs, and you can even see how it's calculating it all out for me. Now, it created what's considered like a baseline for all of these different values, and now, based off of that baseline, it can also show me unexpected values, what's above or below it. And I can follow up with specific orders where it's come either too high or too low from what I was expecting. So for instance, I expected this to be an $8,000 order value, but it came in much, much lower. Now maybe I want to follow up with that specific sales agent. Out of those thousands of lines of information, it went and identified for me the 36 ones that it found most interesting for me to follow up with. Now, out of everything that we just built, well, now we didn't build, but we had it build for us, it's all built inside of responsive design mode, meaning that if I wanted to, I could be viewing this on my tablet, on my phone, whatever screen size I'd so desire. And we can take a look at what that would look like using the device preview option. Inside of the device preview options, we can swap between if we're viewing it for web, if we're viewing it for tablet, or if we're viewing it for phone. And you can also adjust what screen sizes you're looking at. So let's go ahead and let's change over from our web view. And let's just see, what would this exact same report look like? And there you go. So within just a matter of, we were probably 7 or 8 minutes into this, we have brought in our own data, we have built out our report, we've had it build parts of it for us, and we've got some really amazing insights. Now, I'm going to briefly show you just a little bit of our modeling experience, and then we're going to talk about how you could connect to larger data sets than what we started with here. So first off, inside of here, you have the ability to swap back into that data exploration view, but look at this. There's also this grid view because of how I uploaded the data where we can kind of explore how we did the transforms and how we set up that data. So remember, Smart predicted it for me. Up here you can see there's that icon for date because it figured out it was date. And you can also see the measures that it figured out it was measures. But had it misidentified, you can just swap it out. You can change it back over to a different style. Now also from right within here, we can do some transforms. So for instance, I could say I want to go ahead and split this on the comma base value. And you can see that it's going ahead and making it where it's now splitting it up for me. And maybe Kong was misspelled. Well, that's okay. Again, it'll replace what we could be changing it out to. As I'm making these changes, it's actually keeping a history of everything that I'm doing. And I can see that history of changes, and I can highlight and undo them one change at a time if I so desire. Now, this is just a really quick view of some of the transform capabilities that we have available. I want to jump over now and talk about how you would be normally connecting to your data. So if I was dealing with financial information or something like that, I'm not normally just going to drag and drop it in and say I'm feeling lucky. I might be accessing it from a more centralized system that's like our trusted source of data. To do so, I'm going to create a new model, and I can be grabbing that data from a number of sources. So first I'd be getting it from an app. So we have connectors for Concur, Fieldglass, Google BigQuery, Google Drive. You can also be getting from a variety of sources using our OData services. We have S4, SuccessFactors, Salesforce, and we are going to be announcing a large addition of connectors into this list. Now, we also have the ability to connect to a data source, so BPC, BW, ERP, Universe, or SQL. That's our JDBC driver. And we have live data connections. With live data connections, and that works for S4, BW, Universe, or HANA, you're able to be just connecting live to the data. Nothing has to be replicated. And with that live data connection, it's not like you have to pass it through some edge server or something like that. You're going to live connect in, and then you're going to be viewing the charts and dashboards right within your browser. So this is a wonderful solution for people who have concerns about data privacy. Maybe they're in healthcare or government or anything like that. This is a great option, is using those live data connectors. Now, I'm going to switch gears and show you a little bit of a more advanced kind of story. When we had started off, it was that individual who was working from a story they were creating from scratch. Now here's one that's been created for us for our bike company. You can see we still have those smart insights that are showing up and giving us some hints about what's going on in our business. And we have data now that's coming from all over the place. So it's not just one data source, it's multiple data sources. I have finance data that's being pulled in from S4. I have travel data from Concur. I have HR data from SuccessFactors. And I can also see all of this being displayed in a map down here below. Now, what if I wanted to be able to merge together multiple data sets? So for instance, I have my full-time employees. But what I want to see is my full-time employees as well as my contractors. Well, to do so, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add together those two data sources into this one chart. So I've already gone through and I've linked them up using this link dimensions option. And now underneath Designer, what I can do is add in that linked model. So I'm going to add in my contractors. And now I have availability to all of its measures, and I'm going to add those contractors right into the same chart. Since they share dimension members, I'm now able to see it all together. So now I have a total view of my contractors and my FTE throughout my organization. What's really cool is linked analysis still works, meaning that as I select on something, it creates a transient filter, and it can refilter all the data on the page. Now it's just for sales, and I can see my termination rate, my revenue lost, all that information just specific to that one department. As we go through this, I just want to briefly touch on some of the really cool features that exist within SAP Analytics Cloud. So one is, if you were looking at this and you're more of a data scientist, you want to do your own scripting, maybe you even want to use R. Well, normally you would have to go and jump into R. You have to download the data from your source system, bring it into R, change that data around to prep it for use there, and then get rolling. Well, with SAP Analytics Cloud, we actually have R controls built in right for you. So now you could go in and do your own scripting. So here's our script editor. You can see I'm pulling in that data already. I don't have to be bringing in the data or anything. I can use the data that's already existing. I can write my scripts, and then I can actually validate it right here and see how things are going. So that's how I'm getting this nice little word cloud chart, is through an R script. Now inside of here as well, we have the ability to really dynamically interact with our data. So I have this dimension and measure input control that's modifying this chart over here. And you can see as I swap between things, like taking a look at country, I can take a look at it for revenue lost, right? So you can really, instead of just having all of these charts all over the page, like this would take 10 different charts, I just have one chart and 2 input controls. So now it's really easy for an end user to be exploring this to their heart's content. Some of those smart insights that we looked at previously can also be built right into your story. So here on my sales page, you can see I can have a very brief view of my pipeline, my customer deals, my sales to target, but also look, that same simulation capability now built directly into my story. And same thing when I was looking at my outliers before with my bikes, I could also be doing outliers where I'm taking a look at salary and seeing where is somebody maybe over or undercompensated from where they should be. And that can help reduce some of our terminations from people who might be quitting out of fear of not being compensated fairly. Inside of the tool, we also provide geospatial capabilities. You don't have to pay extra for it. So with other applications, sometimes you have to pay for their mapping capabilities, not here. Totally included. And you can do things where you're comparing different points of the distance to each other and seeing when things fall inside or outside of it. You can be controlling the color and size of the shapes and bubbles that you're using, and you can link all of this together where you can select a certain specific data point and everything updates just for that one region that you have selected. So incredibly integrated in with everything else that you're looking at. Now, speaking to that form of integration, there's something about SAP Analytics Cloud that really sets it apart from any other product on the market, and that's our integration of planning. No other BI tool does planning as part of its skill set. They might have something really light and being able to bring in planning information, but this is what we're showing is full integration. I can do planning right within my BI tool without ever having to go somewhere else. So I'm now inside of this nice grid view. I'm going to jump into my edit mode. I'm going to show just some of these brief capabilities. So first off, from this grid mode, you can write your own calculations. So D3 plus D4, whatever I may want to be doing, I can be doing that right within here, right? And you can watch as it's highlighting the cells as I go. It's also really easy if I want to create a new column. Like let's say I want to compare my forecast to my plans. I'll just go ahead and select those two, add a new column, and look at that. It's created the delta right there for me. And if I wanted to, I could even visualize the delta using our in-cell charts. But let's talk more about the planning capabilities. So within the tool, we have this version management. This allows me to now go and take my actuals, and I can make a copy of it. So I can say this is my demo one, and this is going to be my new plan, and I'm going to click OK. What it's doing is it's making an actual copy of my actuals, but now I can play around with it as my demo plan. So there it is. You can see my values here, and I can start making adjustments to it. So I can say, well, I think overall cruise is going to go up by 20% next year, right? Except for the C900 bike, which I think is actually going to go down by 10%. And I can start making these modifications as I'm going. Now, within this, we have the ability to set up if you're going to lock cells, if you're going to do spreading, distribution, allocation of the data, you have that level of control. And notice also this created a private version. So I can be working with this private version. I can go ahead and I can share this with others. I have a full history here of what I've been doing. So I can be undoing and redoing what's going on. And then once I'm done, I can also publish this. So this can publish out to become one of my public versions. What's really nice is how this integrates all together with the BI front end part of this. So as I jump over to my finance screen, we could reflect that exact same planning information through, let's say, a value driver tree. So the value driver tree is a visual representation of that same information. So here's my operating income, and you can see it's my expenses and my revenue coming together and being shown in this tree-like structure. Well, let's go ahead. Let's jump over to our forecast. And once I make that adjustment, we can come in here and we can start making modifications. So I could say, I'm going to go ahead and take my youth revenue and I'm going to simulate what would happen if I increase this by 9%. As I do so, it's live updating all of this information. And you can see that gap just changed from around 6% down to 1.64%. And as I come down here, same thing, I could say, hey, we're going to reduce our travel or something like that. And let's go ahead and simulate this. And as I'm making that change to this area, again, you'll watch as it rolls up and is live reflected in the changes that are being made to the data. So through this type of simulation, you could slowly figure out, how exactly you want to set up your plans and what you want to be doing. And just to get us in the green, let's drop this down a little bit more. Don't know if I made it. Barely not. So yeah. Now all of those changes that I was making also are being reflected right back into this exact same grid view. So if you look really closely, you'll notice my numbers just updated. And this changed everywhere. So not just on this planning page, but it also happened on my overview page as well. So remember, it was at 6-point-something% before. Now as it's bringing it up, it's going to be more like that 0.5% or whatever it was. Yep, there you go. So this is just showing that capability, totally integrated, of planning, of predictive, of BI, all within the exact same application. As you're using this tool, when you're getting started, I want you to be really cognizant of this. This is our business content. So jump into your files area and go to your business content. This is all pre-built free content for you. So if you open up any of these, so we could take a look at our success factors one, you get an idea of what comes with it. We create for you data models. These are all the dimensions and how they're being modeled out. We build stories on top of it, digital boardrooms. All of this structured content is created for you. Then all you have to do is point your content at these data models and you are up and running with your own stories and digital boardrooms. So totally free content that allows you to get up and running. So that way you don't just hit this and it's a totally empty, start from scratch page. No. We have pre-built best practice content for you that you could be starting off with. And in fact, what I was showing you previously was actually all built on top of that LOB content. Now, I made mention a few times to digital boardrooms. Well, let's talk about that. So this is the digital boardroom. The digital boardroom allows you to bring together multiple dashboards into one cohesive experience. So many times when I'm talking with a company, I'm trying to figure out, how do you present today? So when you're presenting up to your executives, to your boss's boss, how are you normally doing it? For many people, they're doing it using PowerPoint. And PowerPoint, great tool, but that's not what it's designed for. You should not be having everybody circling their wagons and sending updated slides the night before from dashboards. That should all be live. If I'm viewing it in PowerPoint, I can't drill down. I can't explore the data. I can't do anything with it. It's a flat presentation. But with SAP Analytics Cloud, you have all these types of capabilities. But what if you have all these disparate dashboards? What if we're presenting to our CEO and we want to be able to give a view of what's going on in travel, what's going on in HR, and all these different things? Wouldn't it be great if you could steal one page from the travel dashboard, one page from the HR dashboard, 2 pages from the finance dashboard, and bring it all together in one representation? That's the digital boardroom. So as I'm clicking through here and I'm taking a look at all these different pages, they could be coming from multiple places. It doesn't matter. And on all of these, we make it really easy and touch-friendly for you to go ahead and interact with it and gain additional insights. So I should be able to drill into the data. I should be able to explore it and see what's going on behind the scenes. And then same thing, I should be able to drill down into those sub-dashboards. So for instance, if I want to jump down into the sub-HR dashboard, there you go. We just pulled it up. But it felt like it was one complete continuous experience. And notice this paddles that you have where you can go backwards and forwards. You can create it in such a flow that it's more like a choose your own adventure or a set presentation mode as you're walking them through all of this content. This is another one of those features that we offer that you're not going to be finding in other vendors. One other piece that's like that I just want to make sure we cover before we finish up is Analytics Hub. So Analytics Hub is a one-stop portal for you to be able to see all of the reports and dashboards in your organization. We don't care if it's SAP or non-SAP reports or dashboards. This is an ability for you to see all of it in one space. So I've got the ability as an end user to be able to create my own assets, but I can add in new a new asset here, and I can link out to different dashboards and anything that I'd like. And then once I'm done, I can send it off to be published, and then it goes through a kind of content management system where people can then approve it, reject it, etc. And then it becomes available to the rest of the organization for seeing. And what's really cool about this is if I go in, let me exit this mode. It looks like I forgot to refresh this. So let's just refresh it. It's been a while since I logged in. Once I go into this mode, you can see here's all my different ones available in this particular system, but I can favorite it. And as I favorite assets, it can learn from it over time. It can figure out what's important to me and start recommending assets for me to be following up on. Now, one last thing, just because I've got you as a captive audience right now, you also can be taking all of this and embedding it. So if you like this experience, you want to have this as part of your corporate portal or something like that, you can actually embed it in. So just to give you a really quick example of that, we have this sample website to kind of show the capabilities. So this is our Best Run Bike site. And from this Best Run Bike site, maybe I want to go ahead and log in, and from right inside of here, so see there's my top banner and everything. Oh, I forgot to do this the right way, but normally I can just log in and see all that content right within it. And it's gonna, since I'm using responsive design, it'll still reshape to the size that I'm using and do all of that for me. So we just wanted to give you this really quick view of everything that's available. There's quite a bit more than what we're showing here, but hopefully this is a good start point for you to be able to see what we're talking about and what's available.